ask this after the game Saturday, but just what's it looked like, I guess, the week since playing Samford and Little Rock, getting ready for these games down there.
Got back home, switched our bags around, had a quick practice, and got down here to enjoy the sun a little bit today. We got in practiced early at home. I'm kind of losing track of my days. Is today Tuesday? Yeah. So we practiced Monday, got on the plane, got down here in time to see the sunset. And I enjoy a little bit of time down here in a little bit warmer weather, not that much warmer. Got a good practice in today and spent a little time on the beach. Had a little picnic out there on the beach, and now we got them back in the hotel ready to feed them and got an early tip time. So traveling, a little bit of film. Mainly, we didn't review a whole lot about Samford. We had to spend so much time because we had the 2 days. You kind of have to prepare for two opponents at once. So we spent all our time doing that.
And then just talking about the first opponent ahead, Illinois. I know they were preseason ranked, and they were pretty good last year, made the tournament and returned a lot of people. Just thoughts,
Yeah.
I guess, on them.
Shauna's got a similar philosophy as we do when it comes to scheduling. Find out what your team's made of. I think, all their losses are to really good teams. They do return all five starters from a team that went to the NCAA tournament. Added a few nice pieces as well to that. But a lot of experience. It's going to be an unbelievably good matchup at all five spots, I think. You kind of look across the board. There's a kind of a natural matchup for each player. Their three guards are very dynamic. I think our three guards are dynamic. Saylor and Shoop Hill at the 4, and then Merriam and Bostic at the 5. That's pretty good matchups across the board to start. They may have a little advantage on us in depth and experience, but sometimes in these events, it's a smaller venue. We're both on neutral floors. We both had to travel. We've both been balancing fun in the sun and work. So they're always a cool matchup. I'm glad we get to play them. I think they're going to be a tournament team again. It's hard to stay ranked when you play good people like they have. So I think it's a team that when the Big Ten season rolls around, they're going to be in the mix.
I just have one more. It's just I know you were optimistic on Emory before the Samford game. Is she going to be available?
She is not. My optimism was maybe me being an enthusiast on the Enneagrams test, but she's still in too much pain to play. I don't feel good about putting her out there. Jenna is continuing to come along, so we got Jenna that can play in those minutes between her and Christina splitting time with Saylor. But we would love to have had Emory back, but we didn't get the news that we wanted. So we'll be really patient with that. This is one of those deals that if you don't make the right decision now, it could be a long-term deal for her. It's a tough injury even in baseball, but for a basketball player, it's one of those things that has some long-term effects on it. So we're going to take it really slow. I think we were all optimistic and hopeful, and we'll stay that way. It's one of those things they said that can, kind of change as the week to week type deal. So knowing that she's a tough kid though gives us, I know that the second that she feels like she's able, she'll be telling me that she's ready to go.
Thanks.
Yep.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, two early morning games for you. I know you played the early one at the beginning of the year with the kids. Just what is it like? Y'all haven't played a tournament since y'all were down in Florida the last time. Just how's that different than maybe a regular, week to week?
Yeah, I think our kids prefer them a little bit later than 11. But when you're down in a place like this, you want to be able to get out and enjoy the day too. So they're kind of coming with the territory. But we started practicing at 11. Once finals were over, we had a bunch of 11 o'clock practices last week to kind of acclimate our bodies to getting up, getting around. And I don't know, we kind of got it. I don't know, we might have had more morning people than I thought we did. We've had good energy. There's been a lot of smiles, a lot of laughs. I haven't been having to really do much motivating or inspiring. They've been in good moods. So I don't know, maybe 11 o'clock is our thing, but I'm anxious that, our side of the bracket, we'll both play, our opponent will play after us tomorrow. So we get a little bit extra rest when it comes to that too. I hate the game. I hate the early games in preparation, but I love them once they're over.
bouncing off what Ethan asked about Emery, just kind of are you looking to lengthen out the rotation at all until you get Emery back, or are you just kind of
I mean, it's
sticking
going to
with?
be Chris and Jenna. I mean, it's going to be Chris, Jenna, and Keats coming off the bench. That's our 8. You know, Carly Johnson's kind of sitting there. She's been doing really good in practice, and I think we could call on her if we needed to, but not quite probably ready. And B's coming along as well. So those are our only available players, you know, with Marin and Lauren Lindsay sitting over there, kind of going through a red shirt, gray shirt situation with those 2 kids. So we've with Jenna, Christina, and Keats, those will be our count on kids, and then Carly when we need her.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Dudley? Dudley, you good?
I can ask one in the meantime while we wait on him.
Go
Yeah.
for it.
Go.
I had one that popped in my head actually after the game on Saturdays. I know y'all did all those personality like stuff in the off season to try and just get to know each other better. I noticed after the game that Mac and Sam talking about Talia, they said like she's somebody who clearly just was a little rattled on Saturday. Like she needs some encouraging words, but a lot of time just to herself. It was like they were picking up on personality things. Like, I'm just wondering if there's other ways you've seen that stuff pay off. It seemed like a clear example of them knowing their teammate better.
No, it's paid off. I mean, if at the end of the year we'll sit down, I think probably come up with a list of it, but it's a growing list, and they're exactly right. Talia's an 8, and we have several 8s on our team and coaching staff, and they do need some time. They don't need words sometimes. They need their space. They need their time, and then they come out of it. You know, what I noticed from Talia, which is the first time I've ever seen it in a freshman, her shot wasn't going, so she turned to defense. That's a big step, man. That's a big step. Now she's emotional, and don't judge her, because sometimes people look at her and they think one thing and it's another. You know, they think she's pouty, or they think that she's mad or pissed. She's not. That's just the way she deals with things, and she's not the only one. Sam's an 8 too. Coach Todd's an 8. You know, we've got a lot of 8s. JC's an 8. We got a lot of 8s. And knowing those things about each other, Lacey's made a card, which I carry right here in my little handy dandy thing I carry on every road trip. And when I have to have a crucial conversation with one of my players or my staff, I go to that card, and it gives me some guidance. You know, I still trust my gut a lot. There's times I don't. I mean, I don't look over there and go, hey, Miriam's a 2-3, I know, and she's a helper, and she's a peacemaker, and she wants everybody to get along. And, you know, but I do think it helps. You know, we coach these kids fairly, but we don't treat them equally, because not everybody needs equality. They need equitable treatment. They need to be talked to the way they need to be talked to. They need to be heard the way they need to be heard. And, you know, if I come at a kid that gets defensive with a real tough tone, then that message is never going to get heard. So I think I said when we first started talking about it at the beginning of the year, I have kind of poo-pooed these tests like this in the past. I really have. These personality tests, I've never put much stock in, but I think because Lacey was such a strong believer in it, it got me down that path and spent a little bit more time with it. And I have seen ways, and I think there's still ways we can all grow from it. But to hear Mac and Sam say that about them, that shows that stuff's being applied.
Dudley,
Can you hear me now?
you're good.
We can.
All right. I wanted to ask the question because this will be the first time in 40 years I've done it from a doctor's office.
Oh, look at you, man. You all right?
Just a regular checkup. But obviously, you know, you talked about the schedule and how tough it was, and certainly it has been. Talk about, you know, how you've done so far, and what are your main things you want to finish up before you get into the SEC play?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to shoot the ball a little bit better. We're taking care of it better. Our shot quality is going up. I think we've eliminated some of these shots that nobody in the world can make. I think defensively, we've learned to trust each other a little bit. We're more games into accepting our roles have been identified, but it takes a while to accept them once you get there. I think our rotations, because of injuries and departures, has kind of solidified itself. And I think now we can go to work. I've seen a big change in our practices. So I hope those things carry over to games, because we're going to have to really be good. We're going to have to not be able to practice too long. So we have to practice sharply so that we can have our legs when it comes game time. But sorry, fighting off a little Florida cold. I know
I've got a
from watching around
stethoscope
the
and stuff we can
SEC
use over here.
Yeah, can we get a diagnosis there?
Yeah.
From what I've seen in the SEC play, we're going to have to rebound it defensively a little bit better. If we do all the things defensively that we've done to create a missed shot, and these teams in the SEC have kids that can just rebound it and stick it back in, that really doesn't do us a lot of good. So we have got to get committed to hitting people, and we let people run by us sometimes. So the defensive rebounding, and then continuing down that path of not turning it over and taking really good shots. We are starting to gain confidence in our shots. So I think we got to keep getting more and more of them.
All right. Appreciate it.
Yep. Hey, good luck down there. It's one of those places where I want to say stay positive, but you almost want to be negative in the doctor's office.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never understood how we get that term so backwards, but hope you're negative.
Yes.
All right, Jacob, we'll wrap up with you.
Hey, Coach, I just wanted to ask you about, you used the term, the Coach Cal arrogant term about the way you guys played against UAPB. Last Wednesday, you used it after the Samford game. Obviously, Illinois is a Big Ten opponent, but UIC as well. How is, you talked about having conversations with your team in practice about, addressing every game and being ready to play every game. How have you seen that kind of taken by the team, obviously after the loss and in preparation for this tournament?
It was one of those ones that hurts you enough to make some changes. Nothing changes until you make changes. So we've made some changes, and I think the kids have seen the positive results of that. It was real clear watching that film. I mean, it was just so blatantly clear. So you asked for ways, so I'll tell you. We've talked about, and we say it in practice or we say it in pregame, hey, be on the good clips. We make a good, the bad, and the ugly. Kind of a 3-stage. Don't be on the ugly, man. You don't want to be that kid that everybody's looking at going, what is happening here? What just happened? They just walked by you, or you just did something completely out of character. What is going on? You don't want to be on that part of the film, because to me that's when that arrogance steps in there. Hey, we can just go out there and I don't have to really hit anybody, or I don't have to cut when they cut, or I'm so fast I can make up for it. Not anymore. The talent has gotten so spread out across our country, and I mean, now with the rest of our schedule, I mean, USC is good too. Don't. You're not going to catch us being arrogant. I don't think another game out of the year. But sometimes it takes that one slap in the face. Dudley and I have talked about this before. When it happens in baseball season, everybody goes, "Oh, that's just baseball." I've always wondered why nobody ever says, "Oh, that's just basketball." They don't ever say that about a basketball game. All that happens all the time in baseball. Well, it can happen in any sport, and I think sometimes it has to happen to you. I think it's really hard to learn all the time from winning, and you need a tough lesson. So, we got ours, and I think we took it. Nobody pointed fingers at anybody. They took a lot of responsibility and accepted a lot of the blame, and in fact, probably heaped more upon themselves than even the coaches did. So, it's no loss is a good loss, but if you learn from them, they don't have to be terrible losses.
And then you touched on my next question a little bit, talking about Talia's impact on the defensive side of the ball. Michaela and Sam both talked about, hey, I don't think she had a bad game against Samford.
Yeah.
She was really impressive on the defensive side of the ball. And so, what have you seen from her throughout the season, grasping defensive concepts and then just being a man-to-man defender in general, that part of her game that's not talked about probably enough?
Yeah, it's how she earned her position starting because of how she defended. There's always going to be concepts that she's going to get better and better at because, literally right now, Jacob, every word that comes out of our mouth is literally a new terminology for her or a new scheme or she looks around and goes, well, what the hell does that mean? And once she figures it out, she goes and does it. But, she stole the ball in the inbounds, laid it in, and she started picking the kid up full court and really hounding her. And she takes a lot of pride in taking charges. I think it's more so once everybody gets comfortable playing with her, so she can go help other places too. Tendencies as a freshman is to worry too much about your man because you don't want to be on that ugly film because your man did something. But I think what Mac and Sam have been really instrumental in helping her with is knowing that, hey, you didn't have a bad game. You just didn't shoot it well. That doesn't equal a bad game at all. So, and I think that's hard for freshmen who have put so much emphasis on having to be great every single game to make a McDonald's All-American team or to make player of the year for Gatorade in your state. You really can't afford a bad game. You can do that at the college level because you got teammates. And I really think what our kids are starting to grasp is that it's kind of nice not to have the pressure to go out there and get 25 a night. Dungy used to talk about it all the time. So I'd loved one night just to show up and be able to just play and see what happens. So I think what they're realizing, and Talia too, Mac and Sam can hit you for 25 in a hurry too. Taylor can hit you for that. And Miriam's got it in her too. So, I think the comfortable zone, we've been growing a lot, so we've not had much comfort. I think Talia is going to continue to see more and more and on both offense and defense. But defense is a lot of effort and a lot of want to. And, man, when she did the other night, it completely changed, I thought, the second half. So I'm glad those two kids pointed that out too.
And then last thing, sorry.
Go ahead.
Kylie.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask one more thing. I know you like to let your team enjoy these trips. So can you give us a peek behind the curtain on any fun vacation plans here?
Yeah, Lacey got us a picnic on the beach today. I don't think our kids really knew what it was going to be. I heard them on the bus going, we're going to be out there how long? We're going to be doing what? And once we climbed over that retaining wall, there was this real nice setup, little gazebo setup with tables and pillows and carpet right there on the sand. The wind was blowing, and it was beautiful. And you could just hear that sound in their voice like, wow, this is more than what I was anticipating. So a game of football broke out out in the wake with some of our kids. And I was talking to a couple that was there just sitting on the beach. And he said, I can't believe you're letting your kids play football over there. Don't y'all have a game tomorrow? I said, we do. But I've learned a long time ago, probably if I don't let them do stuff like that, then they're going to get hurt in the game. So we played tackle football one time before one of our biggest our games when I was an assistant coach. I learned that from Kevin McGuff. The injuries are going to happen. So obviously we don't put them in situations where they're going to be too tired. But I mean, again, if we wanted to keep them in the hotel, I'd take them to some northern city that was iced in and snowed in and we didn't have the desire. We wouldn't come to Florida. But I think the cultural experiences, the times you spend with your teammates, playing in the sand. The girls came down, played with my boys. They built sand castles. We were fighting off seagulls, playing football. I truly believe in our sport, those things will be as remembered as much as the two games we're getting ready to play. So I don't want to be that guy that that's all we remember about their experience in college. But you do have to walk a fine line with that. You have to go out and perform well. And these kids know that. They know that it's the old work hard, play hard method or whatever, but they know that they're going to do that. If they'll work hard in practice, we're going to get them something fun. And, we'll take them to the mall tonight and kind of let them spread out and eat on their own. And I get criticized for that some on, I don't know what they're eating. And, if they're not going to eat right, we don't have a chance. I trust them. So you have to give them some trust until they stop earning it. But we'll go shopping tonight and then we'll see. We'll be done tomorrow by 11. We play at 11. We'll be done before the sun goes down. So depending on how quickly we can get our film knocked out, we got something else fun planned for tomorrow.
All right, Daniel.
Oh, I was just gonna sneak in one more. What else is in that box, if you don't mind sharing, if you can share?
Pins, phone chargers, my cards that I write the kids on, notes that I get from various coaches, notes I get from players, the notes that I handwrite them and give them for each game. I've got 3 or 4 different sizes. I'm fascinated by roadies. I stood backstage and watched roadies load and unload stage crews. So it helps me stay organized. So I've got 3 or 4 different sizes of those I carry around. And each thing's kind of got their spot. My calendar's in there, play cards, game notes, scouting reports, stuff like that.
Is that something you've done your entire career, or is that a new
Head
thing?
coaching, my head coaching career, yeah. And then they kind of each one of them kind of becomes a time capsule for that year. At the end of the year, I clean them out and put in the last copy of Kylie's game notes, all the box scores, all our practice schedules, anything, anything that reminds me of that year, it goes up on a shelf. So I've got 10 of those sitting there now. Something I wanted to do is when I was an assistant coach, I kept writing in my little book, when I'm a head coach, I'm going to do things this way. So that's when it started.